It's a very happy time. I'm happy to be back. As I said, it's my hometown.
Yes.
It always frightened her. At night, little Norma Jean Baker, not yet 7 years old, lay in bed clutching the blanket as tightly as if it were the only life raft in an endless ocean of the unknown. The orphanage was no place to feel safe. Too many strangers, too many voices, too little warmth. Loneliness was her shadow, and dreams were her only escape. This girl, who feared the dark, would one day become a woman whose radiance the world could not look away from. But the road to fame was long and thorny, filled with pain, disappointment, and eventually, triumph. A childhood trapped in instability, Marilyn Monroe was born on June 1st, 1926, as Norma Jean Mortensen. Her mother, Gladys Baker, had a troubled life. She worked as a film cutter at the RKO studio, but her mental health prevented her from properly caring for her daughter. Shortly after Norma's birth, Gladys suffered a severe nervous breakdown, and the child was placed in foster care. Norma moved through several families and twice ended up in orphanages. Her childhood was far from idyllic. In some homes, she endured physical and emotional abuse. However, there was a brief glimmer of hope. A neighbor, Mrs. Bolender, who genuinely cared for the little girl. But chaos returned when Gladys unexpectedly reappeared and tried to take her daughter back. From an early age, Norma sought comfort in the world of cinema. Once, while still very young, she went to the movies with her foster mother. After watching the film, she realized that acting was her path, a way to become someone else and escape her harsh reality. Young Norma was not a classic beauty. She had unruly chestnut curls and pale skin. She had no family to guide her career, but she did possess one thing: a fierce will to survive. At 16, she married James Dougherty, not for love, but for stability. She later described the marriage as a trap, but it allowed her to avoid returning to the orphanage. When World War II took James away for military service, she took a job at the Radioplane Company, where aircraft parts were manufactured. It was there that her destiny changed forever. In 1944, photographer David Conover visited the factory to capture women working in support of the war effort. When he saw Norma, he couldn't take his eyes off her. She had something special: natural grace, a magnetic gaze, and an irresistible charm. He took a series of photographs that became her first step toward fame. Soon after, she dyed her hair blonde and changed her name to Marilyn Monroe. The name was chosen by her and her agents, Marilyn, after popular actress Marilyn Miller, and Monroe from her mother's maiden name. But behind the new name remained the same vulnerable girl who was afraid of the dark. The dream factory and real sacrifices. In 1946, Monroe signed a contract with 20th Century Fox. She began taking acting lessons and refining her image. But Hollywood was a harsh place. Producers saw her as just a pretty face, and she was given minor roles that failed to showcase her talent. During this time, she endured many humiliations. Producers pressured her to change her appearance, eliminate any flaws, and even implied that success in Hollywood required more than just talent. It required compromise. Marilyn knew that to survive in this world, she had to create her own myth. She began to craft her public persona, a legend of a carefree blonde with a dazzling smile who was always happy. But beneath that mask was an intelligent, ambitious woman who dreamed of much more. She studied with the best acting coaches, practiced her expressions in front of a mirror for hours, and worked tirelessly on her voice to make it more expressive. She knew that one day the world would notice her, breaking through the wall of underestimation. The early 1950s marked a turning point for Marilyn Monroe. She no longer wanted to be just a pretty face on the screen, another Hollywood blonde stuck in supporting roles. She craved something more and was willing to fight for every opportunity. a step into big cinema. 1950 was a pivotal year for her. She landed a small role in The Asphalt Jungle, a crime thriller directed by John Huston. Although her character was minor, critics took note of her charisma and magnetic presence. For the first time, producers realized that Monroe could command attention, even in brief scenes. Her next breakthrough came with the classic film All About Eve, 1950, where she appeared alongside the legendary Bette Davis. Though her role was small, audiences remembered her. This was the beginning of true Monroe mania. The world started to take notice of this captivating woman. The difficult road to recognition. Despite her early successes, Marilyn still wasn't taken seriously. Her beauty was both a blessing and a curse. Hollywood continued to see her as a sex symbol, rather than an actress capable of delivering powerful, dramatic performances. Time and again, she was dismissed as lacking serious acting talent. Monroe knew she had to prove them wrong. She began taking private acting lessons with the renowned theater coach Natasha Lytess. Later, she joined Lee Strasberg's Actors Studio, where the most distinguished actors of the time were trained. For someone considered a mere pretty doll, this was an unprecedented move. She worked tirelessly to deepen her understanding of her characters and refine her craft. Hollywood and the dark side of fame. As Marilyn's fame grew, she faced the harsh realities behind the glittering surface. She wanted to be recognized as an actress, not just a sex symbol. Her agent, Johnny Hyde, who became her mentor and protector, secured her first serious contract with 20th Century Fox. But the contract came with a price. Hollywood demanded complete devotion, not just professionally, but personally. Monroe was forced to accept the studio's rigid control over her public image, her personal life, and even her physical appearance. This was the era when stories about her refusal to wear underwear beneath her dresses emerged, further fueling the media's obsession with her figure. Niagara, an explosive role. In 1953, Monroe finally landed her first leading role in the film Niagara. In this thriller, she played a femme fatale plotting to murder her husband. Director Henry Hathaway captured the full force of her sensuality on screen, and the film became a major breakthrough. Marilyn was no longer just another blonde. She was now Hollywood's leading star. Following Niagara, her career soared to unprecedented heights. She became the most famous actress in Hollywood, though deep inside she still wondered, did people see the real woman behind the glamorous image, or just a beautiful illusion? Marilyn Monroe had become a true Hollywood icon, but behind the glittering facade lay loneliness and confusion. She wanted more, not just fame, but the ability to control her career. Yet, the film industry demanded that she remain exactly what they wanted her to be. A charming, sensual, and mysterious woman who captivated millions. The paradox of success. After the triumph of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, 1953, and How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953, Monroe became Hollywood's highest-grossing actress. Everyone spoke of her natural magnetism, unforgettable smile, and ability to enchant the camera. But Marilyn herself knew that her talent was being underestimated. She longed for serious roles, but the Fox studio refused to let her break free from her established image. Her contract confined her to lighthearted comedies, a restriction that infuriated her. She wanted to be more than just a beautiful woman. She wanted to be a true actress, fighting for her own voice. Marilyn realized that if she didn't take control of her career, she would never be taken seriously. In 1954, she did the unthinkable. She broke her contract with the studio and moved to New York to study at Lee Strasberg's Actors Studio. This was a risky move. Hollywood did not look kindly on rebels. Her time at the studio was transformative. She immersed herself in the craft, studying the Stanislavski method, and working to develop herself not just as a star, but as a serious actress. It also allowed her to find support among people who saw her as more than just a pretty face. A turbulent marriage to Joe DiMaggio. That same year, Marilyn married legendary baseball player Joe DiMaggio. To the press, they were the perfect couple, Hollywood's most famous actress and one of America's greatest athletes. But their marriage was far from ideal. DiMaggio was possessive and demanded that Marilyn give up acting and abandon her image as a sex symbol. Their conflicts peaked during the filming of The 7-Year Itch, 1955, when the famous scene of Marilyn's dress billowing over a subway grate was shot in front of hundreds of spectators. While it became a cinematic sensation, DiMaggio was furious. Their marriage ended in divorce after just 9 months. Monroe returned stronger. After her time in New York, Marilyn returned to Hollywood a changed woman. She founded her own production company, Marilyn Monroe Productions, an unprecedented move for a woman at that time. This gave her the power to select her own roles and pursue films she believed in. Her first major success under her new banner was Bus Stop, 1956, a performance that finally proved she was more than just a sex symbol. Critics praised her portrayal, and she felt she had taken another significant step toward her dream. Yet, despite her achievements, both Hollywood and the public continued to see only one side of her. Marilyn began to realize that her internal struggle was far from over. Despite reaching an unprecedented level of influence and control over her career, Marilyn Monroe continued to struggle with inner fears and the relentless pressure of Hollywood. She had proven that she was more than just a charming blonde. But did she have the strength to overcome her personal demons? Some Like It Hot. A triumphant peak. In 1959, Marilyn achieved one of the greatest successes of her career. The comedy Some Like It Hot became not only a box office hit, but also showcased her unique ability to combine comedic brilliance with profound emotional depth. Working with legendary director Billy Wilder was both a blessing and a challenge. While he admired her performance, he later admitted that working with Monroe was incredibly difficult. She was often late to set, struggled to remember lines, and frequently tested the patience of the cast and crew. Yet, when the camera rolled, she was mesmerizing. Her charisma was so powerful that no one else could replicate the magic she brought to the screen. Ultimately, her performance earned her a Golden Globe, one of the few formal recognitions of her acting talent. Marriage to Arthur Miller, hope and disappointment. On a personal level, Marilyn sought stability once again. She married renowned playwright Arthur Miller, and their relationship seemed to symbolize the perfect union, beauty, and intellect. Marilyn believed this marriage would grant her a sense of worth and allow her to escape the dumb blonde stereotype. Miller viewed her as a muse and even wrote the screenplay for The Misfits, 1961, with her in mind, a project intended to showcase her dramatic depth. However, during production, their marriage began to crumble. Marilyn felt that Miller, like everyone else, wanted to change her rather than accept her true self. The discovery of his journals, where he expressed disappointment in her, was a devastating emotional blow. Hollywood turns its back. After The Misfits, Marilyn's career became increasingly unstable. She battled depression, relied on sleeping pills to rest, and stimulants to function. The Hollywood machine grew tired of her unpredictable behavior. Studios no longer wanted to accommodate her lateness, emotional breakdowns, and frequent hospital stays. During the filming of Something's Got to Give, 1962, she was fired after several weeks due to her repeated absences. For Marilyn, it was a humiliating fall from grace. Hollywood's biggest star had lost her place in the spotlight because of her personal struggles. Despite her efforts to regain her footing, the golden age of classic Hollywood was moving on without her. A final glimmer of hope. Despite the setbacks, Marilyn refused to give up. She negotiated her return to the film held meetings with new directors, and participated in photo shoots to prove that her allure remained intact. She was still a legend, and the world was not ready to let her go. Yet beneath the glamorous surface lay profound loneliness. Her life had become a labyrinth of fame, love, disappointment, and an endless battle against her inner fears. Despite her attempts to regain control over her life, Marilyn Monroe remained a prisoner of Hollywood, her inner demons, and a great mystery that continues to fuel countless theories. Her final days were filled with strange circumstances, and her legacy has left an indelible mark on global culture. Her final days, truth or conspiracy? On August 4th, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Los Angeles home. The official cause of death was ruled as an overdose of barbiturates. But what really happened that night? While investigators labeled it as suicide, numerous theories suggest she may have been murdered. Some believe her death was linked to her alleged affairs with President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy. It is said that Monroe possessed information that could have compromised the U.S. political elite. She was reportedly planning a press conference to reveal shocking secrets. Strange behavior from her housekeeper and doctors raised further questions. The police were slow to arrive, and some witnesses later claimed that crucial evidence from the scene was removed. Many continue to believe that the truth was covered up and that Monroe did not take her own life, but was silenced. Legacy and influence on future generations. Although Marilyn died at the age of 36, she left behind a cultural legacy unlike any other. She became a symbol of beauty, mystery, and the struggle for personal identity. Her image continues to inspire art, fashion, and cinema. Her influence echoes through pop culture, from Madonna and Lady Gaga to modern actresses who seek to break free from the stereotypes imposed by Hollywood. She was not just a star, she was a cultural phenomenon who changed the world. Her story is one of talent, loneliness, resilience, and unforgettable fame. Though she is gone, she remains alive in the hearts of millions. Marilyn Monroe, a living legend. Marilyn Monroe proved that success does not always bring happiness. Her life was a complex journey of highs and lows, yet she left a legacy that will never fade. She will always be remembered as an icon, a woman who fought for herself in a world that only wanted her as a beautiful image. Her story is a reminder that even the brightest stars can feel deeply alone, and that true beauty lies beyond appearance. It is found in strength, courage, and the pursuit of authenticity.